Choosing a poultry enterprise requires careful planning to ensure sustainability and profitability. There are major factors that you need to look at. We are looking at management skills, your management type, who do you have in place to ensure that they are taking care of your enterprise, your capital resources, the market demands, what is the market expecting, your location, where are you located, are you within a space of a mass market, are you near schools, restaurants, and even hospitals? What are you looking at to ensure that your investment is in line with your capabilities? This and more on Agricultural New Directions Agribusiness in support of Vision 2030. Stay tuned. Thank you, poultry farmers and aspiring poultry farmers, for tuning into yet another informative edition of your program. This is Agricultural New Directions Agribusiness in support of Vision 2030. Majority of the time, our Zimbabwean farmers are stuck with indecision, whereby they'll be thinking, should I go for the broiler chickens? Should I go for layers? Should I go for road runners, the indigenous chickens? But we are going to be answering all those questions today. I am joined by Bridget Rusere. She is the National Sales Manager with Agri-Milling, producers of livestock feed right here in Zimbabwe. Bridget, thank you so much for taking time off of your busy schedule to join us once again to discuss these pertinent issues within our poultry sector. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Wadza, for having me here.
Yes. As I highlighted earlier on, there is indecision. Farmers don't know what to go for, but at the end of the day, they are looking at the most profitable venture. Is it broiler chickens? Is it layers? Is it road runners? What would be your word of advice, the key factors that a Zimbabwean farmer needs to look at before he either embarks on broiler chickens, road runners, or layers?
Okay.
Yes.
All right. That's a tricky question. Yeah, because if we look at broilers, layers, road runners, these are the common species for poultry being kept by farmers at the moment, though we have got some who are now keeping ducks.
Okay.
So, but broilers, layers, and road runners are the most common three species that are mainly kept by farmers in Zimbabwe. So, when it comes to the choice to keep, each of the species has got its own strengths and weaknesses, or its own challenges. So farmers, they just have to weigh which option best suits with them.
Okay.
But mainly looking at the personal passion, what is it that I want to do? And I really believe that if you do something that you've got passion with, you will be able to do well with that livestock production.
And to be resilient.
Yes, you also be resilient, and that business will also be sustainable. Okay. It's not like you are just copying from your peers or your neighbors that someone has started broiler production, so let me just now start keeping broilers. You see, those are some of the businesses that will then eventually shut down because they won't be sustainable.
You were copying, you were imitating.
Yes, no passion. Yes, you didn't have any passion. It was just pressure. So you have to choose something that you have passion with. If you want road runners, go for road runners. If you want broilers, go for broilers. Then they have to consider the available resources as well in terms of length. If we look at road runners, they need a length that is also spacious, yes, because they will be scavenging, they will be roaming outside the house. So you also need to make sure that you've got enough space of length. They should also consider things like capital, because the investments in terms of the capital requirements, they do vary as well, with broilers having the huge capital requirements. We follow with layers, and then lastly on road runners. But this depends on the scale of production one will be entering into. They need to really understand the market as well. Market is very, very important. It's not like just copying someone. That someone you'll be copying will have a market already. Yes, so it's very important you do understand the market dynamics for that species, if it's broiler, if it's layer, if it's road runner that you want to keep, so that you'll be guided accordingly as production will be moving on. So if we look at broilers on the choice to keep, it also depends on the person. Broilers, we know that they've got a shorter life cycle, 5 to 6 weeks, they'll be ready for slaughtering. So if you're someone who wants quick returns, quick cash flows, I would recommend to venture into broiler farming, yes, because they are quick returns. Within 5 to 6 weeks, you'll be
to the market, to the bank.
Yes. But we do know that broilers, they need someone who has got a huge capital outlay.
Okay.
In terms of the requirements, they need consistent quality feed. So you need to invest in good quality feed for your broilers to do well. You need to make sure that you do invest in infrastructure, the housing, because if you don't construct infrastructure that is up to standards, usually most of the times it will be chaos, challenges after challenges in terms of production. Then you also need to be someone who has got tight management. Broilers are very, very sensitive. They are very sensitive to any sudden changes, be it environment, infections as well. So you need to be someone who is always on the ground, trying to make sure that everything is going well according to the plan. Then in terms of demand, we can see that the demand for broiler meat is always increasing. So there is demand. Whether you are in the rural areas, you are in urban areas, demand is just growing for broiler meat. So you'll be guaranteed as well that if you really innovate in the way you will be marketing, you won't have challenges in terms of getting those birds sold. Then if we look at layers, they do serve a dual purpose. When they're highly productive or during production stage, they will be producing layers. So you'll be getting your cash flows from the eggs that you'll be selling.
To go and purchase more feed.
Yes.
So it is sort of like self-sustaining. The more eggs you sell, the more feed you get.
Yes.
Okay, I want you to round off on the layers part, then we come back in the second segment where we'll be looking at the indigenous chickens, but carry on with the layers part.
All right, it's fine. So if we look at layers, like I said, they serve a dual purpose. One for eggs and the other one for meat. That is after end of production, when they are no longer productive, you can still sell them as off layers. Yes. So for those who just want steady income, like what you have said, like on a daily basis, you'll be getting income from selling the eggs. They need to go into layers. Those layers, they do take a time, usually close to 5 months before they start laying. So they need someone as well who is patient enough, who is able to wait for the long payback period, so that from there, they will then start earning income out of the eggs.
Okay.
Yes, yeah, because we are saying they need time. You need time to rear them. You need to invest in quality feed, in quality pullets, and also housing and management for you to then be able to start reaping the profits.
To be picking an egg every day.
Every day, yes. So you can pick your eggs up to 1.5 years.
Okay.
Continuously picking eggs daily. That is from layers. So they need someone, if you want steady income over a certain period of time, or which is quite longer, you need to go into layers. And with the demand that is there daily on eggs, we know that the cheap source of protein as well.
Yes.
People usually on a daily basis as part of their breakfast. Some they do
or
consume
even relish
eggs as relish as well, you see. So yeah, you'll be guaranteed as well in terms of market, supplying those confectionaries, those boarding schools, hospitals, all those types of markets.
Thank you so much, Bridget. In this segment, we did look at broiler chickens and layers. We're going to go on a short commercial break. When we come back, we'll be looking at the indigenous chickens, the road runners. Stay tuned. Thank you, aspiring poultry producers and those who are already existing in the business, for staying tuned to Agricultural New Directions Agribusiness in support of Vision 2030. In this episode, we are looking at pertinent issues whereby most farmers and most citizens do suffer from indecision. They are indifferent whether should I go for the broiler chickens, should I go for the layers, should I go for the road runners. This is what we are going to be answering in this episode. Now, viewers, encourage you to be a part of these conversations. Feel free to get in touch with the producer, Wadzanayi Manyore, 077-2807-506. Alternatively, you can like our Facebook page, page Agribusiness with Wadzanayi. Make a follow-up on this episode and more, and leave your comments and suggestions. They're welcome to us. Our YouTube channel is Agribusiness with Wadzanayi. On LinkedIn, we have a growing, thriving community. Our profile there is at Wadzanayi Manyore. On X, formerly known as Twitter, most of these discussions and traffic does take place. It's at Agribusiness 110. Now, Bridget, we are here in the second segment. Welcome back.
Thank you.
Looking at the roadrunners, Bridget, what would be your sentiments? What is it like for someone who's thinking maybe I should go for the roadrunners? What would be the major key takeaways, the highlights that you might want to highlight in this segment?
Okay, so if we are looking at roadrunners, some they call them free-range chickens. Yes, because we do have quite a number of different types of breeds under roadrunners as well. So if you're someone who is so particular about organic food, someone who is so particular about your tradition, I think going for roadrunners will be ideal. Also looking at the nature of the birds, the roadrunner chickens, they are hardy. Yes, they are not easily affected by diseases, and they can tolerate harsh conditions as compared to layers, as compared to broilers. They are less sensitive to all those such changes. So I think for someone as well who has got limited capital, it's also good to venture into roadrunner farming because of reduced production costs. If we are looking at things like medication as well, since I'm saying they are not easily affected by diseases, but you need to make sure your biosecurity is just in place.
But they do have antibodies better than the broilers and the layers.
Yes, and
their system is more resilient.
Yes, and they are also carriers as well of some diseases like avian influenza, Newcastle. Yeah, so it won't be that much quicker for you to notice these
because they are carriers.
Sickness, yes.
Which takes me to my next question, which should be very interesting. Can someone do roadrunners, broilers and layers all at once, or saying I'm having my broilers and my roadrunners, given that you spoke of them being carriers? Can we have such a scenario? And if it is possible, what would be your advice to that person? What would be your recommendations for someone who's saying, I want to do 100 broilers, but I also want to have my roadrunners maybe 100, given that I won't need majority of my money to go to the feed? What would be your advice for someone who wants to do both enterprises simultaneously on the same premise?
Okay. We normally don't recommend, from a biosecurity perspective, to keep broilers, roadrunners on one side or even layers, yeah, because there will be high risk of spread of infections from one house to another. So it's very important. It now depends with the scale of production. Okay. Maybe for those who are just doing small batches, like 50 broilers, 50 roadrunners, but not on commercial.
For personal consumption.
Yeah, for personal consumption, you can keep, but you need to also make sure that you practice strict biosecurity.
Okay.
Each species in its own house. If you have got plenty of space, I think it will be good enough if you maintain distance between the houses. Maybe 12, 15 meters would do if you have got enough space, so that you reduce the houses being closer to each other. Okay. Because remember, there is also air that will be circulating as well. So it's important. You also need to make sure that you put some food baths at the entry points to each and every house. You need to make sure that the person who will be attending this housing is different from the other. Yeah, maybe one person for each house, or if you are just one, that's where we'll be saying maybe you need to make sure that each and every house has got something for you to wear, like gumboots or whatever, meant specifically for that housing.
Okay, you cannot use the same gumboots from the broilers into the roadrunners and vice versa.
Yes.
Okay.
Even the way you wash the drinkers, yes, you need to have separate cleaning materials for the drinkers, for roadrunners, and that for layers. You shouldn't mix them. Okay. Because by doing so, you end up spreading and introducing infections. Okay. But if you are doing it at a larger scale, we don't recommend that. It's better if you have decided to just venture into broiler, just to concentrate on broiler. If you are into layer, just to concentrate into layer. And also the other thing you should also consider is that if you have decided on a smaller scale, you have to make sure that the road runners, since they are carriers as well, they go on the windward side. Yeah, it's also quite helpful as well in trying to minimize. But the bottom line, they need to know that they practice strict biosecurity. Vaccination is needed. Ways of preventing diseases, their spread, should also be put into consideration.
Now, Bridget, as we close this segment, we kept speaking of large-scale, large commercial farmers, small-scale, self-consumption. In line with these enterprises, broilers, layers, road runners, is there an enterprise that you would say it will be uneconomic for you to say, I'm going to purchase 10 layers? Because then how many days will you need kuzadza crate 30? Is there an enterprise that you'd say, kutanga ne 10 azvite, kana madima tanga ne 50, kana kutanga ne 100? What would be your recommendation in line with the units of production, the capital in itself, the inputs when we are looking at the best themselves? Would you say, kutanga ne layers 10 akuite, kana road runners 2, madima tiwedzerei? What would be your recommendation in terms of sizes and capacity?
Okay. All right. So if we are looking at the scale of production, it depends with the purpose. Some they just rear for personal consumption, where you find someone buying 25 broilers just for home consumption. But if we are looking at business, we need to make sure that we need to up our numbers, because the profits, they do lie in doing huge volumes. So for someone who will be saying, I want to start with 15 layers, it won't be economical as well. Yeah, considering that there are some fixed costs.
Exactly.
Yeah, like housing.
And there are longer periods before it even gets to one egg.
You see, so it's just good to really start as something that is economical. Maybe if you can start with 100 layers, it will be a bit economical, because like we'll be looking at per day, you'll be picking not less than 3 crates, yes, depending on the age of the beds. So if we are looking at poultry, the profits, they do lie in pushing volumes.
Yes.
Yes. If we look at those that, who do small batches, they usually buy their inputs at retail prices. Yeah, because they will be buying few quantities.
Which is expensive,
Which
by
is
the way.
expensive, yeah. It will then increase their cost.
And chances of getting a discount in that scenario are less.
They are less. They are less. So it's compared to someone who is doing thousands of beds. Someone who is doing thousands of beds, those people or farmers, they've got that advantage of negotiating for discounts.
Or even a credit. It makes sense to give someone who's doing 1,000 layers on credit, feed on credit for that week.
Yes.
It makes sense than to give on credit for someone who's got 50 layers.
Yes.
Yes, not be very economical.
Yeah, that's true. So if we look at that, we can see that those who will be doing huge volumes, they usually lower their costs, their unit costs. Like if we look at those who are into broiler farming, those commercial, usually their cost of producing a bed usually is around $3.50, $3.60 per bed. And then that's why you then see them selling at $4.20, $4.50 per bed.
Okay.
They still enjoy thick margins out of that, because they have lowered their cost of production by spreading the risks and the costs across the whole batch. We have those fixed costs from housing, from infrastructure, the drinkers, whatever. They usually spread the costs across the whole batch.
Okay.
But if we look at those who do small batches, like I said, you find out their cost of production, cost of producing a single bed will be around $4, will be around $5. And that's why they end up selling at $6, $7. Though it might seem profitable in terms of the selling price at $6 or $7.
But when you do the actual mathematics.
Yes, you see that they will just enjoy thin margins because of that. So it's very important to make sure that if you want to make profits, you do move big numbers. Yes, of course you can start small, but we don't want people to remain at that smaller capacity. They need to grow, they need to expand. You started at 50, next move on to 100, keep on injecting your capital, then start enjoying the profits later on.
Thank you so much, Bridget, for highlighting the importance of understanding the scale of production. It might not make sense to start small because there are always fixed costs, which is what you spoke of. There you heard it, viewers. We're going to go on a short commercial break. We're right back with this and more in the third and final segment. Stay tuned. you, farmers, for staying tuned to Agricultural New Directions Agribusiness in support of Vision 2030. We are here in the third and final segment, and today we are addressing those farmers who are suffering from indecision. Yes, he did write his resolutions down, where he's saying, should I go into broiler chickens? Should I do layers? Should I do the road runners, the indigenous chickens? This is the place to be today, as we are going to be diving deeper to understand what are the advantages that come with each enterprise, what sort of financial muscle or investment that you need to part with so that you sustain any given enterprise amongst the three. Bridget, we are here in the third and final segment. Welcome back.
Thank you.
Now, Bridget, for someone who's got limited space with a bit of capital, we are looking at urban dwellers, someone who's living in a medium density or in a high density or even low density. What sort of enterprise would you recommend of the three for someone in an urban area, not a rural setting, in an urban setting? What would be your advice?
Okay, so for someone who has got limited capital, maybe in an urban setting, I think they can venture into roadrunner.
Okay.
Because roadrunners, they do not need much capital in terms of starting the business. Since they are hardy, they are resistant to some diseases, it will be very easier for the farmer to manage them. But they need space, like for them to do free ranging, to scavenge. So I think for someone who has got limited capital, going for road runners will be most ideal, considering they don't usually suffer from diseases. And also in terms of feed requirements, you then also reduce by supplementing with commercial feeds, unlike with broilers where you just have to rely completely on the commercial feeds, and also with layers as well.
Looking at graduates, we're often talking of issues of unemployment or even women empowerment. This is someone who's recently graduated. They do have a bit of capital, but it is their first time to get into the business. Of the three enterprises, which one would you recommend? And in line with the scale of production, munhu ari kubva kuuniversity ungamuti atange nemabroilers mangani mari inokwanisa kunge iripo iri kubva kuvabereki. Kumunhu ari kutanga, advice yako ingava enterprise ipi uye otanga nehuku ngani?
Okay, I would recommend broilers.
Okay.
Yeah, for someone who is still coming from university, I would recommend broilers because they've got a shorter life cycle, 5 weeks, 6 weeks, depending on the target market, even 4 weeks. So you'll be able to get your returns out within that short space of time, and you'll be able to then reinvest into other batches to come. So starting with numbers as well, it now depends with the capital that is available. But even if you start at 25, as long as you keep on investing back, plowing back those profits, you'll be surprised within a space of time, or even by end of the year. I've got some customers' testimonies as well. I know someone who started with 25 beds, but by the end of the year, that person was now doing batches of 300 beds, 500 beds. So you need to keep on going. You need to have discipline as well in terms of how you're going to manage your cash flows.
Okay.
Yeah, but if you don't have enough capital, maybe you can start at 25, 50, 100, whatever.
Okay.
Some they can even start at 500. So it depends on the capital outlay that you have. But what's most important is to make sure that you provide a room for growth for yourself. You need to plow back maybe for 3-4 batches without now touching on the profit. Then you start enjoying later.
As we close this episode, Bridget, your word of advice to students who have just graduated, seeking to employ themselves, seeking for maybe a way of living, a source of income, and also issues of women empowerment or youth empowerment in general. What would be the best enterprise for someone who's looking to empower a community?
It just depends with what exactly they want. I don't see any problems with giving them broilers, giving them layers, giving them road runners. But I think it will be good, maybe if it's layers, we can start in road runners at point of lay, so that they will then have that experience of raising the chicks on their own. If it's road runners, they will gain experience and they will really have much contribution towards sustaining their businesses. Yes, because of the patience that is needed, it will also make them to be very much resilient.
And you'll be accumulating knowledge along the way.
Yes, they will be accumulating knowledge. But depending on the goals as well, so it depends the species to give them, depends on your goals. Yes, what is it that you want to achieve, after how long as well. But I think each
All
of the three
enterprises.
species, yes, they can have groups, keeping broilers, they can have groups, keeping layers for table egg production, or raise road runners as well, from chicks up to selling them as chickens.
Okay, thank you so much, Bridget, for taking your time off of your schedule to come and educate Zimbabweans and learn with the three major enterprises in poultry production: broiler chickens, layers, my road runner, or what we refer to as indigenous chickens. It was a pleasure having you with us today.
Thank you so much, Wadza.
There you heard it, viewers. I'd like to believe that all of your questions have been answered in today's episode. Are you looking to invest in poultry? Should you go for the broilers, layers, or the road runners, the indigenous chickens? From me, your host, Wadzanayi Manyore. I'm also on Instagram. It's at Wadzi110. And the crew behind the scenes. Have yourselves a fabulous evening. Thank you for watching.